17 already, the fantasy baseball season, and it's flying by, and this week could be crucial to add some players to your roster. So here's a few hitters I look to add this week. The first guy, Nick Gordon of the Minnesota Twins. So Gordon, a very versatile player and a guy with a lot of upside. Qualifies at second, short, and outfield, and right now he's available in 90% of fantasy leagues. On the season here, 5 home runs, 20 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, 29 runs scored, 284 average, and a 333 on base. But over the last couple weeks here, he's been white hot. A homer, 7 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 6 runs scored, a 438 average, and a 500 on base. Obviously, that's not going to stick, but right now, if you need a guy that could get on base, has good versatility, and could be a good player down the stretch here for fantasy owners, I would give Gordon an ad. August 2nd versus Detroit, 1-for-1, 2 RBIs. August 3rd versus Detroit, 0-for-3 with a run. August 4th versus Toronto, 1-for-3. August 5th versus Toronto, 3-for-5, a homer, 3 RBIs, 2 runs scored. August 6th versus Toronto, 2-for-3, 2 runs, and a stolen base. And August 7th versus the Jays, 0-for-5. So right now, I'll help you in a few categories: stolen bases, batting average, on-base percentage, and runs scored. And right now, available in tons of leagues, like I mentioned, I would give Gordon an ad. And if he just struggles, you drop him back to the waiver wire. But right now, he's a big pickup this week, I believe. The next guy, Seth Brown of the Oakland Athletics. Brown, one of the hottest pickups over the last few weeks here. And this guy's got legit power. He also qualifies at first and outfield on the season here for Brown. 17 home runs, 48 RBIs, 35 runs scored, 8 stolen bases, a 236 average, and a 293 on base. But over the last 2 weeks here for him, 7 RBIs, 5 runs scored, a stolen base, a 368 average, and a 500 on base. So right here, Oakland, obviously they're going to play a lot of young guys and see what they got for the future. And Seth Brown, he's definitely a guy that could go out there and show some legit power. July 30th at the White Sox, 2-for-4, a homer in that one. July 31st at the White Sox, 0-for-3. August 2nd at the Angels, 0-for-1. August 3rd at the Angels, 1-for-4. August 4th at the Angels, 2-for-2 with a homer, 2 RBIs. And August 7th versus the Giants, 2-for-5, a homer, 2 RBIs. So right now, he's showing good power as Brown, getting an everyday opportunity. And if you need some power and some stolen bases, he's definitely a guy to go out there and get. He's not going to help you in batting average, really, or on base, even though he's been doing good at that category the last few weeks. And he's available right now in 72% of fantasy leagues. The next guy's Frazier. Adam Arendis. So Frazier, it's been a down year for him after a couple good seasons with the Pittsburgh Pirates, but he's starting to get things going a little bit here on the season. 3 home runs, 28 RBIs, 7 stolen bases, a 246 average, 307 on base, and 46 runs scored. But over the last few weeks here, he's getting it going. No homers, 4 RBIs, 8 runs scored, 3 stolen bases, a 286 average, and a 364 on base. So Frazier, he was never known as a power guy, but stolen bases, he could get 10 to 15 for you. He was known as a run-scoring guy and a good batting average and on-base guy. But this season, he just hasn't done it. But now, of late, he's starting to get things going. And he qualifies at a weak second base position and outfield. So if you need help at that position, I definitely recommend adding Frazier this week. Available in 70% of leagues. August 1st at the Yankees, 1-for-4 with an RBI. August 2nd at the Yankees, 2-for-3, 2 runs, a rib, and a stolen base. August 3rd at the Yankees, 2-for-4 with a run and a stolen base. August 5th versus the Angels, 1-for-4, run and a rib. August 6th versus the Angels, 0-for-7 in a doubleheader. And August 7th versus the Angels, 1-for-3 with a run. So right now, if you want that help at runs scored, some stolen bases, and at second base, he's definitely a good ad this week. The next guy, José Iglesias of the Colorado Rockies. So Iglesias is not known for his offense throughout his career, especially his Detroit Tiger days. Great defensive shortstop, though, on the season. 3 home runs, 40 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 40 runs scored, 312 batting average, and a 354 on base. But over the last month here, he's really raking, is Iglesias. 1 home run, 17 RBIs, 15 runs scored, a 367 batting average, and a 408 on base. So right now, if you need some average on base and run scored, he'll help you win his Iglesias. He's definitely a good ad, and he qualifies at, I believe, the 2 of the weakest positions in fantasy baseball, at second and shortstop. The last few games here for him: August 1st at San Diego, 1-for-4 with a run. August 2nd at the Padres in a doubleheader, 5-for-8, 2 runs, a rib. August 3rd at San Diego, 0-for-4. August 4th at San Diego in that one. 3 for 5 a run and 2 RBIs. August 5th at Arizona, 1 for 5 a rib. And August 6th at Arizona, 1 for 3. So right here, top of the order is Iglesias for this Rocky team. Batting first to second. And he's been a catalyst for this offense, even though we know it's been a bad season here for this Colorado Rocky team. But Iglesias, if you need help at those positions, he'll help you with the batting average and on-base percentage. And I definitely would give him an ad this week. And if he doesn't do much in the power department, it's not to worry about it because he does other things like I mentioned here. And this week he's an ad. The next guy, Jorge Mateo of the Baltimore Orioles. So Mateo available only in 55% of fantasy leagues here. And I've mentioned him over the last few weeks. Good versatility, a guy who's going to steal a lot of bases. And now the power's starting to show up as well here on the season for Mateo. 11 home runs, 34 RBIs, 44 runs scored, 26 stolen bases. I know a 215 average, which definitely hurts, and a 266 on base. But over the last month of the season, very good numbers. 5 home runs, 12 RBIs, 15 runs scored, 5 stolen bases, a 292 average, and a 329 on base. So right now, Mateo, one of the hottest pickups this week in fantasy baseball. Added an 18% of fantasy leagues. In the last few games here for him, August 1st at Texas, 2 for 4, a run, a rib, a stolen base. August 2nd at Texas, 2 for 4, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs. August 3rd at Texas, 0 for 3 with a run and a bag. August 5th versus Pittsburgh, 0 for 4. August 6th versus Pittsburgh, 1 for 2, 2 runs, an RBI. And August 7th versus the Pirates, 2 for 3 with a homer. So right now, showing some pop. His stolen bases are great on the season with 26. Amongst the league leaders in that category, here's Mateo. And he qualifies at second short in outfield. So right here, for a guy that's going to give you some stolen bases, show some power. I know no batting average at all. I think Mateo, though, is definitely worth an ad. And a guy you could play out there at second short of utility, and I don't think it would be a problem for fantasy owners. The next guy's Randall Grichuk of the Colorado Rockies. So Grichuk in his first season with the Rockies, not a great year. 11 home runs, 55 RBIs, 40 runs scored, 3 stolen bases, a 256 average, and a 298 on base. But over the last couple weeks here, starting to get it going a little bit. 2 home runs, 13 RBIs, 7 runs scored, a stolen base, a 306 average, and a 358 on base. So Grichuk, I thought he would show more power in Coors Field, obviously, this season. After hitting 22 home runs last season, but only 11 this year. The last few games here for him, August 1st at San Diego, 0 for 4. August 2nd at San Diego in a doubleheader, 1 for 7, a homer, 2 RBIs. August 3rd at the Padres, 0 for 4. August 4th, he didn't play. August 5th at Arizona, 3 for 4, a homer, 2 runs scored. August 6th at Arizona, 1 for 4. And August 7th at Arizona, 2 for 4 with a run. So right now, bats 5th to 6th for this Rocky team here is Grichuk. And he's a guy that could get this power stroke going. And the batting average is definitely going up right now. Available in 63% of fantasy leagues. If you need a utility guy or a bench hitter, I think Grichuk's good for that. But as an everyday player, I don't think he'll be that solid for fantasy owners. But he's definitely a guy that could get hot as well, especially in Coors Field and with his power history. The next guy, Eddie Rosario of the Atlanta Braves. So it's been a very tough season here for Rosario. He had eye surgery a couple months ago, and he's starting to get it going just a little bit, not that much. He's more of a deeper league ad, available in 80% of leagues on the season. 3 home runs, 16 RBIs, 13 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, an awful 177 average, and a 221 on base. But over the last month of the season, 2 home runs, 15 RBIs, 8 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, a 227 average, and a 250 on base. But over the last 2 weeks here, this is where he's starting to maybe getting back the groove of things here is Rosario. A homer, 11 RBIs, stolen base, 5 runs scored, a 268 average, and a 318 on base. So right now, we know last season he was one of the heroes for this Atlanta Brave team, helping them win the World Series. But right now, this Brave team just losing 4 or 5 to the New York Mets here. And they need someone to step up a little bit. Now 6.5 out in the division. So the last few games here for Rosario, August 2nd versus Philly, 3 for 5 with a run and 5 RBIs. August 3rd versus Philly, 0 for 4. August 4th at the Mets, 1 for 4. August 5th at the Mets, 2 for 5, a homer, 4 RBIs. August 6th at the Mets in a doubleheader. He only played 1 game, 0 for 5. And August 7th at the Mets, 0 for 2. So right now they go to Boston and then Miami. And I think Rosario really could get right. Teams in Boston, Miami, they don't have the pitching staffs obviously like the New York Mets that throw 3 or 4 good guys at you in that rotation. So right now, Rosario available in 80% of fantasy leagues. He showed some flashes over the last few weeks, and he's a guy we know could get hot at any time and carry a team or even a fantasy team for the next few weeks. The next guy is another Brave, William Contreras. So right now, Travis d'Arnaud banged up and was seen in a walking boot after a collision at home plate the other night with Pete Alonso. So on the season here for Contreras, who did make the All-Star team, 15 home runs, 29 RBIs, 29 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, 261 average, and a 344 on base. So right here, his numbers have been steady over the season. But if he gets an everyday opportunity here, Contreras, he could be one of the best catchers, in my opinion, in fantasy baseball. The last few games here for him, August 2nd versus Philly, 1 for 4 with a run. August 3rd versus Philly, 0 for 3. August 5th at the Mets, 1 for 4 with a homer. August 6th in a doubleheader at the Mets, 3 for 7, a homer, 2 RBIs. And August 7th at the Mets, 0 for 3 in that one, where Jacob deGrom was dazzling and no one really could hit him. So right now, Contreras looks like he might get an expanded role with d'Arnaud banged up, even though the reports are coming out d'Arnaud's day-to-day for right now. But with his injury history and the fragileness he's shown as d'Arnaud, it wouldn't surprise me if he could be out for a little bit here. We know he missed Sunday's ball game versus the Mets. We'll see if he plays in the series in Boston. But right now, Contreras, either way, is a guy that should be playing more, in my opinion, for this Brave team. And they've been starting to DH him a little more. The next guy's another catcher who also qualifies at outfield, MJ Melendez of the Kansas City Royals. So a bad season here for Kansas City. But Melendez, he's shown some good spots here on the season. 13 home runs, 38 RBIs, 32 runs scored, a 231 batting average, and a 318 on base. But over the last few weeks here, he's playing better baseball as Melendez is this rookie and former top prospect in this Royal system. 4 home runs, 13 RBIs, 8 runs scored, a 255 average, and a 345 on base. So Melendez finally getting an everyday role over the last few weeks here and batting leadoff for this Kansas City Royal team. So the last few games here for him, July 31st at the Yankees, 2 for 3 with a run. August 1st at the White Sox, 0 for 4. August 2nd at the White Sox, 0 for 4 with a run. August 3rd at the White Sox, 0 for 4. August 4th versus Boston, 2 for 4. A homer in that one, 2 runs scored. August 5th versus Boston, 1 for 3, 2 RBIs. August 6th versus Boston, 1 for 4, a homer in that one. And August 7th versus Boston, he went off 2 for 3, a homer, 6 RBI. So Melendez starting to get things going. And with the catch eligibility and him playing every day for this Royal team, this guy is a slam dunk ad, in my opinion, here. And still available in 55% of fantasy leagues. And the final hit I looked at this week's Gene Segura of the Philadelphia Phillies. Segura back here for this Philly team, and it's a big addition back to this lineup here for Philly, who treaded water over the last few weeks and actually played well with Bryce Harper and Segura out on the season here for Segura. 6 home runs, 19 RBIs, 9 stolen bases, 23 runs scored, 277 average, and a 323 on base. So we know he's going to be a guy that's going to be decent with stolen bases. We know he's a good run scorer, and even a guy that shows some pop for a weak second base position in fantasy baseball. So the last 3 games back here for Segura, August 4th versus Washington, 0 for 2. August 5th versus Washington, 0 for 4. And August 6th versus Washington, 3 for 4 with a run and a stolen base. So Segura here, he's the engine to this offense over here in Philly. Even though so far in his return, he's been batting down in the lineup, 7th. But right now, he's getting his feet wet once again. He had the off day yesterday, gets the other off day here today, and then Philly resumes back play with a 3-game set coming up with Miami, and then they verse the New York Mets. So Segura's back, and he's a guy that definitely can help fantasy owners in many factors, and a guy would go out there and add available in 54% of leagues. So that's a few hitters I look to add here off the wire in Week 17 of the fantasy baseball season.